I'm going to show you how I transferred this photo into this one. First of all, I'll start by showing you what I did on set before moving on to the editing process. I did my makeup the night before because I had to wake up early in the morning. My original plan was to use a stick to act as a broom, but that didn't work. We then tried another pose, with me sitting on him. And that didn't go as planned either. But we did take this photo. It's like I'm riding a bike. I ended up posing on the wall, and that's how we got the final picture. This pose required me to be lifted so my feet wouldn't be touching the ground, giving the illusion that I'm flying. Later, we will enhance that illusion by capturing the right perspective in the photo to make it look like I'm up in the sky. Now, onto the editing part. I have already found a new background, which I bought on the iStock website because I didn't really like the original one. Now, I'm just adding the photo to edit it. I decided that the hands in the second photo look better, so I'm going to merge the two photos. Before doing that, I'm going to hide the second photo and manually delete its background. To use the delete button, I first need to rasterize the photo from a smart object. I start by using a larger brush to remove most of the background, and then switch to a smaller brush for the detail areas. Removing the background around the hair is a bit tricky, so I use a smaller brush and lower the flow to below 10% so it doesn't remove too much hair. It may not be the most efficient method, but that's how I did it here. Now, I'll remove the excess part of the background. Next, we move to the second photo with the hands. We'll follow the same process, rasterized from the smart object. I removed part of the background, then resized the image to match the exact dimensions of the existing one. After that, I duplicate the photo and resize each arm individually. I removed the remaining part of the background. Now blend the two hands from the two images. Next, I merge the two photos together and repeat the same process for the other arm. We then move on to adding the broom, which is the best semi-realistic one I could find. I rasterized the image and removed the background automatically. After that, I rotated the broom into the desired position and used the perspective function to make it appear smaller from the back. I manually removed the excess background that the automatic tool couldn't handle. I wanted my hand to touch the broom to make it look like I was originally holding it for a more natural appearance. To achieve this, I used the warp function. I duplicated the broom so I could place some twigs on top of my hand to make it look like I'm running my fingers through them. Next, I use the camera roll filter by pressing Ctrl-Shift-A to adjust the color of myself and the broom to match the background. We do the same thing for the broom. Then I went to Adjustments, click on Exposure, and created a clipping mask to avoid coloring the entire image. I darkened myself, pressed Ctrl-I to invert the effect, and added some shadow to blend myself into the photo so I don't look like a sticker. With these shadows, I tried to replicate the environment, therefore placing shadows where they would naturally occur if I was in the picture. I repeat the same process for the broom. Now for the fun part, the special effect, the fire. I found some green fire images online and chose the ones I liked the most. I added the photo to the project and resized it, then applied the lighten mode. If I had used the removed background button, it would have also removed the fire, which wouldn't look good. That's why I discovered the lighten mode. I wanted the fire to appear fuller and larger, so I added more fire images and used the warp function to adjust it as needed. We add even more fire. Warp it. And then again, more fire. To create a more 3D effect, I placed a fire behind my head. I then added some sparks using the same method with the lighten mode and removed the excess. I also added a small detail of fire in front of my face to make it more realistic. Finally, I deleted parts of the fire to make it look like the flames were running through my fingers. This time, after clicking on Adjustments, Instead of going to exposure, I went to curves. I created a clipping mask, selected green, and then pressed Ctrl I to invert the effect. I added some green light to my body and broom because fire without light doesn't look good. I started painting on the edges, making the effect stronger and then fading it. I added green highlights wherever the fire would naturally fall, as if the fire were real. I also did the same thing for the broom. I wanted to add more special effect to the photo, so I decided to include some flying leaves. I tried removing the background, but only a few leaves remained, so I used the lighten mode. However, the leaves became too transparent, so I ended up combining the two methods. I added smaller leaves using lighten mode and used the perspective tool to make them look like they were going behind the scene in the forest, not just on the side of the photo. I deleted any unnecessary leaves. To achieve the desired effect, I darkened the background leaves more than the ones on the foreground. I duplicated the broom and myself to add some floor shadows. Then I went to adjustments, exposure, and then clipping mask. Darkened it and lowered the opacity. Using the warp function, I bent the shadows to match the floor. Applied the same technique to my own shadow, but it didn't look right at first. So I used the warp function again and deleted parts of the shadow to make it more realistic, as that's how shadows work. And done!